Hello everyone, welcome back to the Fire Emblem Advent Calendar. Today is day 13, and today Afello is going to tell us his third favorite Fire Emblem unit. Go ahead, Afello.
Oh boy, what a day it is to be a Fire Emblem fan. You're gonna find out the origin story behind my name, actually. My third favorite character here is going to be Ephraim from Sacred Stones. Of course, the lance-using lord, the classic, the legend, and of course, as I said, half of my username, the EPH, comes from Ephraim, of course. That says something, you know, when you put a guy in your username, yep, definitely pretty good. So, for me, Ephraim was my first lord. He was Sacred Stones is my first game, and as a kid, watching him do all of the stuff he does, really awesome. There's no denying that it's gotta be every kid's dream at some point to blaze through a game with their favorite character or whatever. And I certainly
Based.
my first run actually ended with only him, Erica, and Innes alive because I was 5 years old when I played Sacred Stones, and I didn't have a concept on resetting. But either way, he stuck it through for me. He was a cool character. There's a lot I like about him. There are a couple things I want to touch up on, though, that I have the opportunity to clear up. Of course, there's the controversy around him, so to speak, with him being somewhat of a Mary Sue, or a Gary Stu in his case, where, like, people think, oh, he does things too perfectly, and that makes for a bad character, and so on and so forth. But honestly, it ain't true. It just straight up ain't, and I'll tell you why. So, the biggest point, the two biggest points are pretty much covered together. The first one being when he is on his own with Kyle, Ford, and Orson. They set off to capture Renval Castle to free up some time for Erica and Fado to escape the castle. And that one's typically seen as a bit of a plot hole or a bad moment in the story because, like, how is one guy with 3 other soldiers going to take a whole castle? You know, it's absurd, it's ludicrous. But he ends up doing it. And then afterwards, it's revealed that it's a big plot set up by one of the leading generals in the Great-O Empire, more or less to capture him. And then he escapes from that, and it's like, whoa, how'd you do that? And a lot of people go like, oh, it's not explained. But actually, I am here to present a little theory for you today. So consider for a second that the Great-O General that sets out to defeat him and sets up this whole circumstance is Valter. Valter, the guy known for literally allowing Seth and Erica to escape from him 3 times in total, if you count the Glenn situation, to literally just prolong the war. That is the whole thing. He literally lets them escape 3 total times in Erica route. I guess very technically twice if you consider Renval and then another point Ephraim's route. It just makes sense that Valter would let them escape. You see him in the story run in the direction that's least padded by soldiers, and he escapes. So as a result, I don't think there's really any downside to him as a character. I don't think there's a single point in the story where he falters. And I think that he's well written all around, all things considered. Not to mention his supports. I know it's going to be a joke in the comments. You better not. Don't do it.
I will delete them.
True. Yeah, there you go. But yeah, overall, I think he's a fantastic story character. I think the story around him is beautiful. And of course, there's no denying that he is an absolute unit in combat. But I won't get into that one too much because everybody knows how good Ephraim is, and I don't think there's any contention around that one.
I haven't played much of FE8. I do know Ephraim is really based. He wields a lance, and that's really cool. I also just really like his design. His armor just always looks sick, and Ephraim is so cool. He's able to just like take on a whole bunch of squads. I don't really think of him as a Mary Sue, and even if he is, like, is way much more of a Mary Sue. Like, come on, guys. Like, I love Echoes, and let's face it, it's true.
I heavily agree, but that's for
But yeah, I can't say much on Ephraim. How about you guys?
Ephraim is pretty cool. Yeah, I love Ephraim. One of the funnest lords to use ever. He just comes out and he's very good. Super easy to train him right away. And my god, his growth rates help him so much. His base stats are already really good, but just gave him like 1 point of speed and strength, and he's just doubling and basically one-rounding everything until he promotes. And then he's definitely one-rounding everything with those stats. Jesus Christ. Yeah, one of the funnest lords to use, for sure. His Regan Leaf feels very fun, strictly because, like, when you use, like, the rapier with, like, Roy or Elliewood, it has a weapon triangle disadvantage against most things that it faces. But the Regan Leaf doesn't have to worry about that, and it hits like a goddamn truck, one-shotting things. 3 times effectiveness, by the way. Pretty cool.
True.
And in the story, Ephraim is just a badass. He's pretty logical dude too. So like following the story is very nice. And his supports, he's just a chill dude. I like him.
For me personally, Ephraim is just a very fun unit to use because almost all his growth rates are like in the borderline 50 levels, which just means it's like a coin flip chance for his stats to go up or not go up. And they usually do go up, and he usually spirals out of control and becomes like your best units.
So, fun fact, I was actually sitting there debating, do I want Ephraim or do I want Hector? And I actually chose Hector, but realistically, they're two of the same kind of character. They're both really cool male lords that don't wield swords, which is absolutely phenomenal. Like, I love that to bits. Ephraim's so cool. His weapon is one of my favorites. Armor and horseback effective lance is just OP. And
Yeah, it's really good.
yeah, and he's just such a good unit overall. It's just, I can't get over it. He's Ephraim. Why do you have to be so cool?
Yeah, he's really, really awesome. I mean, one thing I didn't really touch up on is that I love his relationships with all of the characters in the story. You know, he's got like the backstory with his father where he's like, he looks up to his father like nobody else. He wants to be just like him, but he wants to surpass him too. He wants to set out to be a mercenary. He would honestly rather just not even be king for the most part of the story. He just wants to go out and fight because that's what he has fun doing. But in doing that, he doesn't discard his leadership abilities and his tactical sense. One of the coolest portions of the story to me is honestly just anytime he interacts with Leon, because he ends up interacting with the eviler version of Leon for the most part. But with the ending, he actually fights the chill version of Leon, the one who wants to overcome Ephraim. It's really, really fascinating to see all of that take place. You know, not to mention his relationship, his like rivalry with Innis, how he handles the Orson situation. If you haven't seen that, his Orson situation stuff is just really cool to me. Of course, Orson being a legendary character in my eyes, but just everything about him, his relationships, his combat potential. I couldn't ask for anything more out of a lord for a story, and you know, he fulfills everything that I need him to.
You guys have any final thoughts on Ephraim?
Best Lance Lord in the series?
Based
I'm just kidding.
Wait,
I'm just so
wait,
kidding.
wait,
I'm
wait,
kidding.
wait,
I'm
wait,
kidding.
wait, wait,
Best
wait,
of
wait,
us.
wait.